What if I told you Family Guy isn't just fart jokes and chicken fights? Behind the chaos are brutal truths, dark satire, and surprisingly real facts hiding in plain sight. In this video, we're diving into Season 23, Episode 11, one of the most savage and surprisingly clever episodes yet. This is your deep dive into the episode's wildest moments and the real-world facts behind the punchlines. Let's break it down.
You remember that old Calgon commercial, Ancient Chinese Secret, right? What exactly is the Ancient Chinese Secret?
Ever heard the phrase ancient Chinese secret? It sounds deep, mysterious, but here's the real story. It all started with a laundry detergent ad in the 1970s. In the original commercial, a Chinese-American laundry owner gets asked how clothes come out so clean. The wife smiles and says, ancient Chinese secret. But the real secret? Just Calgon. Yep, plain old detergent. It was catchy back then. But over time, people started calling it out for using racial stereotypes. It played into the idea that anything Asian had to be mystical or exotic. Fast forward to Family Guy, they flipped the joke on its head. The show mocks how people took that ad seriously, like there really was some magical Chinese laundry wisdom. But here's the fact, that secret never existed. It was just smart marketing wrapped in a stereotype. And Family Guy made sure we didn't forget how weird that really is.
I'll pay you anything if you'll tell me the Ancient Chinese Secret.
Yeah, what do you expect? We're a country of 1 billion guys and 8 girls.
Did Family Guy just roast China's population? And it's kinda true? Funny? Sure. But it's also based on a real and pretty shocking fact. China actually does have a gender imbalance. For decades, families preferred having boys. That led to something called sex-selective abortions and even abandoning baby girls. The result? By 2020, China had about 30 million more men than women. That's more than the entire population of Australia. And when Family Guy says,
China, whoops, maybe we threw away too many girls.
it's dark, yeah, but it's also a brutal punchline about how cultural values can cause real damage. Today, China's trying to fix this, but the effects are still being felt, from loneliness to marriage problems and even human trafficking in some rural areas. So yeah, that ridiculous Family Guy joke, it's not just comedy, it's disturbingly close to real life.
Everyone, the Olympics are coming!
This joke from Family Guy is funny, but also a bit dark. It's a reference to real reports of mass worker deaths tied to global sporting events. While no exact number like 800 has been reported for China's Olympics, similar tragedies have happened elsewhere, especially in places with poor labor protections. For example, in Qatar, over 6,500 migrant workers reportedly died in the decade leading up to the 2022 World Cup. Most were from India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Some Olympic host countries have used emergency construction laws to fast-track projects, skipping safety checks to meet global deadlines. In China, there were reports of 24-hour work shifts and closed-loop sites where workers weren't allowed to leave for weeks. And yet the world still tunes in. Cameras roll, fireworks go off. Then we move on.
I mean, 800 workers just died, but still, tip your cap, you know?
Behind every global show of power and pride, someone somewhere is paying the hidden cost.
Oh, freaking China, man. Hey, thanks for making our stuff. Our country stopped making stuff, so thank you for making the stuff, because we still need stuff.
Ever wonder where all your stuff comes from? Like your phone, your shoes, even your microwave? Well, here's the truth. The US used to make a lot of its own products, but over the last few decades, most of that work moved overseas, mainly to places like China and Southeast Asia. Why? Cheaper labor, fewer regulations, and bigger profits. That's called deindustrialization, and it's led to job losses in America and a huge rise in imported goods. Now Americans still want tons of stuff, fast and cheap, but we rarely think about who is making it or how. So when someone says,
Thank you for making the stuff, because we still need stuff.
it sounds dumb, but it's also kind of true. It's a quiet nod to a big problem. We've become totally dependent on global labor while pretending we're still self-sufficient. Funny? Kinda.
Thank you. Rupert, I want you to feel that your heritage is respected here. So I've made a few tweaks to our favorite classic television show.
What if your life depended on ginseng and goldfish? Family Guy parodied the show ER, but with a twist, edited for Eastern medicine. It starts off wild.
I need 10 cc's of
Ginseng root.
Ginseng is a real herbal remedy used in traditional Chinese medicine to boost energy, but maybe not in a heart attack. Then it gets weirder.
And somebody set this patient up with
Goldfish to nibble his toes.
That's a nod to fish pedicures. Yes, actually real, but maybe not for saving lives. And here's the darkest line.
We're gonna lose him if we can't get our hands on some...
Baby elephant bones.
Some unregulated Eastern remedies have used endangered animal parts like tiger bones or rhino horns, and that's been heavily criticized for harming wildlife. Sometimes the best medicine is just not this.
We need...
The lady doctors to kiss. I made some tweaks as well.
Why, you must feel like Jesus did when he returned from the dead.
Hey, look who's back. Miss me?
What if Jesus came back from the dead, and the first thing he faced was a furniture complaint?
I hired you to build me a table back before all the stuff went down, right? And, well, look.
Imagine this. A miracle just happened. The Son of God has returned, and someone goes, "Hey, remember that table I paid for before you died?" Instead of awe or worship, he's hit with,
Do you have a receipt?
Yep, this moment hilariously flips one of the biggest religious events ever into a modern customer service nightmare. And here's the kicker. Jesus, the carpenter, is casually giving refund advice like,
Yeah, you kind of want to always keep the receipt.
it's a perfect mix of ancient and modern, where resurrection meets return policy. Because if there's one thing more powerful than rising from the dead, it's someone asking for a refund. Even miracles aren't immune to paperwork.
The mountains look like nipples.
Well, you can't just call a country nipples.
What about Nepal?
Why you dressed like that?
Oh my god, that is such a year of the monkey thing to ask.
Only Stewie Griffin could turn a normal question into a deep dive on Chinese astrology. In this hilarious Family Guy moment, Stewie mocks Brian by claiming his behavior is classic Year of the Monkey. While it sounds like nonsense, the Chinese zodiac is actually real. It's a 12-year cycle where each year is associated with an animal, like the monkey, pig, dragon, and more. People born in the Year of the Monkey are said to be clever and playful, but Stewie is clearly just throwing that out there to sound smart. He even checks with his teddy bear, Rupert, as if Rupert is a zodiac expert too.
Right, Rupert? Textbook Year of the Monkey, this guy.
Then Stewie tries to do the math to prove Brian's birth year fits the monkey sign.
Right, you're 9 years old, right?
Yeah.
Right, so 2024, 2023. Right, yep, monkey.
Of course, Brian is a dog, so the whole logic collapses. Finally, Stewie proudly claims he's Year of the Pig, like that gives him special powers to read other signs.
I can always tell because I'm Year of the Pig. What would you even do in China? See if Olivia Munn left a sister back in the homeland?
Why is Stewie roasting Brian so hard? In this scene, Stewie jokes that Brian would go to China just to meet a girl like Olivia Munn. Funny, right? But there's a deeper meaning behind it. Olivia Munn is part Chinese Vietnamese, and in real life, a lot of Asian women are treated like a fantasy in movies, TV shows, and even dating apps. It's called fetishization, when people are only liked for their race or background, not for who they really are. Family Guy's making fun of this idea. Brian doesn't look cool in the joke. He looks desperate. That's on purpose. The show is using humor to point out a real issue. So yeah, it's a cartoon, but it's also calling out the weird way people think about race and dating. Makes you see the joke in a whole new way, doesn't it?
Would you mind not folding your laundry during our session?
Ever feel like your therapist is just phoning it in? In Family Guy, a therapist says,
"Hey man, this is therapy that advertises on podcasts. Costs like $18. You get what you get."
Sounds like a joke, but it's actually pointing to something real. Online therapy platforms like BetterHelp and Talkspace have exploded in the US. They've been featured on over 50,000 podcasts with ads that make therapy sound as easy as ordering lunch. But here's the catch. Many of these platforms use contractors, not full-time licensed therapists. Some clients report getting matched with unqualified or unresponsive counselors. In 2022, BetterHelp was even fined by the FTC for sharing users' mental health data with advertisers, something most people had no idea was happening. So while online therapy can help some people, the joke hits because it's calling out the truth.
We believe therapy doesn't have to be expensive or even effective. It just has to be reportable to your spouse.
Rupert wants to find his mom and dad, and he wants to eat one tiny part of a shark and throw the rest in the garbage.
Family Guy made a dark joke about eating just one tiny part of a shark. But what if I told you that's actually a real thing? It's called shark fin soup, a traditional dish in some cultures. To make it, people slice off the shark's fin and toss the rest of the body back into the ocean. The fin has no flavor. It's just used for texture and to show off wealth. Every year, about 70 million sharks are killed just for this. Some species have dropped by 90%, and it's hurting ocean ecosystems big time. The practice is banned in many places, but illegal shark fin trade still goes on. In Family Guy, it's a joke, but it's also a sharp dig at how wasteful and harmful this really is. So yeah, Family Guy made you laugh, but the real story behind shark finning, not funny at all.
Oh my God, that shark's attacking Quagmire!
Break's over. Get back to work making solar panels for American liberals.
Ever wonder where your solar panels come from? Family Guy doesn't hold back. In one scene, they joke about solar panels being made by forced labor in China.
Didn't realize all our solar panels are made by Chinese political prisoners.
Specifically, Uyghur Muslims and political prisoners. Sounds extreme, right? But here's the kicker. That claim is actually based on real reports. Turns out, a lot of the world's solar panel materials like polysilicon come from regions in China linked to human rights abuses. So while some people proudly go green, they might be unknowingly supporting something not so clean behind the scenes. lines. Then the joke hits harder.
Yes, white liberals have a lot to answer for.
But it doesn't stop there.
Well, I'd say conservatives do as well, especially in a post-Roe v. Wade world.
For their role in limiting reproductive rights after Roe v. Wade was overturned. Both sides preach ethics, but neither is off the hook. Clean energy isn't so clean when you dig into the supply chain. And politics? Yeah, that's messy no matter where you stand.
He looks just like your rapist.
20 years in a labor camp. What a mess.
Hire Sidney Powell.
It's the only place she's still licensed.
What if I told you a Family Guy joke just roasted a real-life lawyer banned across the U.S.? After the 2020 election, lawyer Sidney Powell made headlines by pushing wild conspiracy theories to try to overturn the results. She filed lawsuits that courts called baseless, and she didn't just lose, she got sanctioned, mocked, and even disbarred in some states. Then Family Guy hit her with this savage punchline.
Hire Sidney Powell.
China. It's not just a joke, it's political satire. The line suggests she's so discredited, the only place she could still legally practice law is in a country with totally different rules, like China. It's a dark, clever way to say she's really fallen from grace. Family Guy's humor may be outrageous, but it often reflects real headlines.
Break's over. Get back to work making solar panels for American liberals.
He is invincible. Even better than Steven Seagal.
Ever seen a fight scene so slow you could nap in between punches? That's basically a Steven Seagal movie. And Family Guy's Stewie? He goes in on it. He says,
Yeah, let's hear you say that after I have a very lazy Steven Seagal-type martial arts fight against Russian Shu.
That's a jab at how Seagal's fight scenes in the 90s looked more like slow-motion Tai Chi than action. Yet somehow he was always the hero. Then Stewie randomly throws in,
martial arts fight against Russian Shus.
It's absurd, over the top, and hilariously out of place. Classic Stewie. And the punchline?
He is invincible. Even better than Steven Seagal.
That's mocking how Seagal always played characters who couldn't be beaten, even though his real moves looked like they belonged at a senior yoga class. Oh, and there's that rumor about Seagal unzipping his leather pants at an audition.
Steven Seagal.
You act Asian, you look Native American, your name is possibly Jewish. What are you?
Sorry, Chris, when you download TikTok, one of the terms and conditions is that the Chinese government can just arrest you whenever.
What if I told you downloading TikTok could get you arrested by China? Sounds crazy, right? Well, that's exactly what Family Guy joked about. It's a joke, but it's based on real fears. See, TikTok is owned by a Chinese company, ByteDance. And in recent years, a lot of people, including US lawmakers, have raised red flags about how much user data TikTok collects. Could the Chinese government actually spy on users or access info? Maybe. Could they arrest you through your phone? Probably not. But Family Guy plays off that paranoia in the most ridiculous way. So next time you're scrolling TikTok at 2 a.m., just remember the Chinese government might be watching, or not.
Does TikTok app really let China police kidnap you? Or probably not, but maybe.
They're at VR Burning Man.
Yeah, my wife is here, but she said I could glitter paint anyone I want.
You know Family Guy nails a joke when it's funny and secretly genius. So Stewie says,
You'll never even notice I'm gone. They're at VR Burning Man.
Wait, VR Burning Man. Okay, so Burning Man is this wild, artsy festival in the middle of the desert. People go off-grid, wear costumes, build giant sculptures, and vibe with no internet. It's all about being real and free. Now make that virtual, that's hilarious. It's like, let's escape society from the comfort of our living room wearing a headset. Totally defeats the point, and that's the joke. Peter and Lois are so disconnected, they're doing the most extreme unplugged event. Plugged in. They're bad parents, sure, but also it's a jab at how we do everything digitally now. Classic Family Guy, dumb and deep at the same time.
You do that while I go stare at women's butt cracks on the motorcycle games.
God, I love being in the Old West, or maybe present day. It's unclear on the Paramount billboards.
Wait, is Yellowstone a cowboy show or a modern drama? Even Family Guy is confused, and honestly, same. In a hilarious cutaway, Family Guy pokes fun at how Yellowstone looks like it's set in the 1800s. Cowboy hats, horses, ranches. But surprise, it's actually set in present-day Montana. The show's billboards? Super old-timey. So unless you're a regular viewer, you'd think Kevin Costner time-traveled. And speaking of Costner, he actually quit the show during season 5. Yeah, John Dutton just rode off into contract dispute land. So when Family Guy says,
I'm Kevin Costner.
Okay, that much I know. He quit, then I know nothing.
They're not wrong. Yellowstone is like a wild rodeo. You either hang on tight or fall off by episode 2.
Cowboy husband, is everything okay?
Get back inside, women who are way hotter than real women from this place.
And there you have it. The wild, weird, and weirdly true layers hidden inside Family Guy. Season 23, episode 12. Don't forget to subscribe for more episodes where comedy meets reality.